I work for a state police impound lot in Montana. Not a cop, just the guy who catalogues evidence from recovered vehicles. It's boring work, mostly drug cases and DUIs, but the pay's okay and no one bothers me. I'm posting this because I need someone else to tell me I'm not losing it, or that there's some rational explanation I'm missing. I've listened to this footage maybe 40 times now, and it just gets worse. 3 weeks ago, they found Unit 47 abandoned on Highway 212, about 60 miles outside of Billings. The cruiser belongs to Officer Nathan Vickers, who'd been missing for 11 days at that point. No body, no blood, no signs of a struggle. The car was just sitting there in the middle of the road at 4 a.m. when a trucker nearly rear-ended it. Engine off, doors locked, light bar still running, and painting the whole empty highway red and blue. Vickers had been on a routine patrol shift. His last radio check-in was at 11:47 p.m. Nothing unusual. Then, silence. Search and rescue combed the area. Divers checked the Yellowstone River. They brought in cadaver dogs. Nothing. The case went cold almost immediately, which isn't something I'm supposed to know about, but you hear things. When they towed Unit 47 to our lot, I got assigned to process it. Standard procedure: photograph everything, document personal effects, pull the dashcam footage. I've done this maybe 200 times. I'm thorough. I follow protocol. I don't skip steps. The camera was a Patrol Witness 5000, pretty standard issue. Continuous loop recording, supposed to overwrite itself every 72 hours, unless you manually save something. But when I pulled the SD card, there was only one file on it. Just one. 3 hours and 14 minutes. Time stamped from 11:34 p.m. to 2:48 a.m. on the night that Vickers disappeared. That bothered me right away. The camera should have had days of footage, even if most of it was overwritten garbage. But there was just this one file, like someone had wiped everything else and kept only this. Except Vickers couldn't have done that. He was already gone. I should mention that I'm not supposed to watch this stuff without a detective present, technically. But they were backlogged and I was bored. And honestly, I figured it would just be 3 hours of an empty highway. I thought maybe I'd see the moment he pulled over, or spot something the investigators missed. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about it too hard. The footage starts normal. Vickers is driving eastbound on 212, humming along to some country station. You can see his hands on the wheel in the lower edge of the frame. It's dark, except for his headlights and the occasional reflector post. The road out there is just nothing for miles. Flat and straight, like someone drew it with a ruler. I grew up in Colorado, and even that feels crowded compared to this stretch. For the first 20 minutes, literally nothing happens. He's just driving. The hum of the engine, the static from his radio, that high-pitched whine from the light bar that every cruiser makes. At 11:47, dispatch does a check-in and he responds. His voice sounds fine, normal, maybe a little tired. At 11:53, he slows down. There's no reason for it that I can see. The road's empty. No cars ahead and no animals. Nothing in the frame at all, except for asphalt and darkness. But he decelerates from 60 to maybe 30, and I can hear him lean forward in his seat. The leather creaks. He just says, "Huh." Just that. Then, he keeps driving at that slower speed for another 3 minutes. The timestamp in the corner keeps ticking. I'm watching the road ahead, and I still can't see what made him slow down. The headlights don't catch anything unusual. But there's this feeling I got watching it. Like the kind of tension you get when you're waiting for a jump scare in a movie. Except nothing jumps. At 11:59, he pulls over. He completely stops, puts it in park, and leaves the engine running. The headlights are still on, pointing down the empty highway. For a while, he just sits there. I can hear him breathing through the mic on his radio. Then he gets out. I should clarify, you can't see him get out, because the dashcam's fixed to the windshield, pointing forward. But you hear the door open, hear his boots on the pavement, and hear the door shut. Then, nothing. Just the engine idling, and that light bar whine and the wind. He's gone for 6 minutes. When he gets back in, he's breathing harder. Not like he ran, but like he's rattled. He sits there for another 30 seconds without saying anything. And then he puts the car in drive and keeps going. He doesn't call it in, and he doesn't make a note. He just drives. I rewound this part maybe 10 times trying to figure out what he saw. The camera doesn't move. The road doesn't change. There's nothing out there. The next hour's more of the same, just driving in silence. But something's different about the audio now, and it took me a while to figure out what it was. The static from the radio's gone. Completely. It's still on. I can see the green light reflected in the windshield, but there's no sound coming from it. Just dead air. At 1:14 a.m, he slows down again. This time, I can see why. There's something in the road ahead. At first, I thought it was a deer, because that's usually what it is out here. But, as the headlights get closer, it's not a deer. It's a person. Just standing there in the middle of the highway, facing the cruiser. Vickers stops about 30 feet away, puts it in park. The figure doesn't move. The headlights are pointed right at it, but I can't make out any details. It's like the light doesn't stick to them properly. They're just a dark silhouette, totally still. Vickers doesn't get out this time. He just sits there. I can hear his breathing again, faster now. After maybe 2 minutes, the figure starts walking towards the car. Their gait is all wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. They're not limping, but they're not walking normally either. It's too smooth. Like they're on a track or something, gliding more than stepping. Vickers is saying something under his breath, but the mic doesn't pick it up clearly. It sounds like he's counting. The figure gets closer. 20 feet, 15, 10. Then it stops. It's right in front of the cruiser now, just standing there in the headlights. I still can't see a face. I can't see anything except a vague human shape. Vickers is completely silent now, not even breathing loud enough for the mic to catch. The figure raises one arm and points to the left, off the road into the empty scrubland. Then it walks off the highway in that same wrong gliding way and disappears into the dark. Vickers sits there for another full minute. Then he turns the wheel and follows it. This is where it stops making sense. The cruiser goes off-road, bumping over the uneven ground with its headlights bouncing. I can see sagebrush and rocks, the same terrain you'd see anywhere out there. Vickers is driving slowly, maybe 10 miles an hour, and I can hear him breathing again. Short and shallow breaths. He drives like this for 11 minutes. The timestamp keeps going. The terrain doesn't change. There are no landmarks, no buildings, nothing. Just scrub and darkness. Then, at 1:31 a.m, the headlights catch something. It's a structure. I don't know what else to call it. It looks like a door frame, just standing upright in the middle of nowhere, with nothing attached to it. I couldn't see any walls or any roof. Just a wooden frame, maybe 7 feet tall, with the door still in it. The door's closed. Vickers stops the car about 20 feet away. He sits there staring at it for a long time. I turned the volume all the way up during this part, and I could hear him whispering something, but I couldn't make out the words. It might have been a prayer, but then again, it might have been nothing. Then the door opens. I'm not exaggerating when I say I've watched this part at least 50 times. The door opens inward, into nothing. There's no room behind it, no building, just the same empty scrubland you can see around it. But it opens anyway, slow and smooth, like someone's pulling it from the other side. And there's some kind of darkness inside the frame that doesn't match the rest of the darkness around it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's thicker, deeper somehow. Vickers puts the car in park and turns off the engine. The headlights stay on for a few seconds, but then they flicker and die. The whole camera feed goes black, except for the faint glow of the dashboard lights. I can still hear the audio, his breathing, the wind outside, a creak that might be the door moving. Then he opens his door and gets out. I can track him by sound, boots on dirt. He walks towards the frame. His footsteps are steady, not rushed. He gets close enough that I can hear the door creaking on its hinges. Then he stops. For 5 seconds, nothing, just the wind. Then I hear his voice, very quiet, say, "I know you." That's it. 3 words. And the way he says it doesn't sound scared. It sounds sad, resigned maybe. Like he's recognizing someone he hasn't seen in years. There's a sound I can't describe. It's not a voice, but it's not the wind either. It's low and sustained, and it makes the audio peak and distort. It lasts maybe 3 seconds. Then, silence. The camera sits there in total darkness for another hour and 17 minutes. No movement at all, and no sound except the wind. I scrubbed through the whole thing. Nothing changes, just an hour of black screen and ambient noise. At 2:48 a.m, the footage cuts off. That's it. That's everything on the SD card. They found the cruiser at 4:11 a.m, 60 miles west of where Vickers went off-road. The car was back on the highway. Its doors were locked and the engine was off. There was no mud on the tyres, and no scratches either. Nothing to indicate it had ever left the pavement. I filed my report, sent the footage to the detectives. I didn't mention that I'd watched it multiple times, because that would be admitting I'd broke protocol. I haven't heard anything back. The case is still open, but I get the sense they're not actively investigating anymore. I tried finding that spot off Highway 212 where he drove into the scrub. I took a day off last week and drove the whole stretch twice, looking for tyre tracks or disturbed ground or anything. I didn't find anything. I'm not sure I expected to. I probably should have brought someone with me, honestly. It felt stupid going alone, but I didn't want to explain why. But here's the part that's kept me up for 3 weeks. 2 nights ago, I was closing up the impound lot around 9 p.m. I was the last one there, just doing a final walkthrough before locking up. I passed Unit 47, which is still sitting in Bay 12, waiting for the investigation to officially close. The light bar was on. I stood there staring at it for a full minute, red and blue, cycling through the pattern, reflecting off the concrete walls. The car was locked. The battery had been disconnected during processing. There was no possible way those lights should have been on. I checked the battery, still disconnected. I checked the wiring, nothing obviously wrong. The lights stayed on for another 3 minutes, and then shut off by themselves. I called my supervisor. He came back to check it out, but by the time he arrived, everything was normal. He thinks I'm stressed. He suggested I take some time off. Maybe he's right, I don't know. But last night I was at home, and I pulled up the footage again on my laptop, because I'm apparently incapable of leaving this alone. I was watching the part where Vickers gets out and walks towards the door frame. I had headphones on this time, full volume. Right before he says, "I know you," there's another sound underneath his footsteps. It's faint, it's barely audible, and I'd missed it every other time I'd watched. It's another set of footsteps. Someone else was walking with him. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this information. I don't know if it even matters. Vickers is still missing. The case is going nowhere. And I'm sitting here listening to this footage over and over, like it's going to suddenly start making sense. I keep thinking about what he said. I know you. Who was he talking to? The worst part is, I think I'm going to drive out there again this weekend. I know exactly where he must have gone off-road, based on the timestamp and the mileage logs. I know I shouldn't. I know it won't help. But I need to see if that door is still standing out there. I'll update you if I find anything, assuming I make it back.